it's time for part 5 of the Land of Raw. Now, Grandad and Arthur were up in the attic, and Arthur, even though it sounded silly to himself, had started telling Grandad about the Land of Raw. The strange thing was, Grandad didn't laugh at him, he just listened and seemed to understand. So let's see what's going on. Chapter 10. I stare at the sagging mattress, then back at Grandad. What? You think I should just crawl in there? Grandad nods. And visit Raw, he says, like he's suggesting a trip to the pier. But Grandad, Raw was a game. Remembering a dragon biting me is my mind playing tricks on me. But what if it's not, Arthur? What if you and Rose made Raw with your imaginations, then crawled through the camp bed and somehow found your way there? I smile and shake my head. If I crawl into that mattress, I'll come straight out the other side and you'll be standing there laughing at me. Well, if that happens, at least you know you imagined the funny sound and being bitten by a dragon and can get on with turning this attic into a den. And if I do end up in Raw, I can't believe these words have just come out of my mouth. Grandad's eyes go wide. Now, wouldn't that be something? And then he actually holds the mattress open for me and says, in you go. I don't know. I glance out of the window to make sure Rose is still on the trampoline. There aren't many things in the world she'd find more hilarious than the sight of me crawling through the camp bed trying to get to Raw. There she is, jumping up and down and trying to touch her toes. I'm sure I imagined it, I say. It was probably a bird in the chimney or... A scuffle makes me turn around and I see that Grandad's head and shoulders are stuck inside the mattress. What is he doing? He must think that if he goes in first, I'll follow. He pushes his arms and then starts wriggling from side to side, trying to get his bum in too. Then I hear a faint cry of, hear me roar! The sight of a 72-year-old man attempting to squeeze his body into a folded camp bed is like a slap in the face. What am I doing? Rose is right. I'm way too old for this. I should be learning to surf or skating or fighting stuff on the computer. Anything would be better than playing in the attic with my Grandad. When Grandad comes out the other side of the bed, I'll tell him I want to take the camp bed to the tip. It's time for me to grow up or I really will be eaten alive at secondary school. Hear me roar! Grandad cries. Then, with a final lurch, he gets his bum and legs into the bed too. Then he just sits there, a big bulge in the middle of the mattress. It reminds me of the time I saw a nature documentary about a snake that had swallowed a pig. It's pretty funny, actually. All right, Grandad, you can come out now. I try to give the bed a shake, but it weighs a ton with him in there. Grandad's hand pops out and waves around. Are you stuck? I grab hold of his hand and his fingers wrap around my wrist and I start to pull. But he won't budge, and now I'm laughing because Grandad has got me to play just like he wanted to. Come on, I might have done a wee in there, remember? Suddenly, Grandad's fingers tighten around mine. Ow, I say, still laughing. Then I sit down on the floor, put my feet against the bed and pull as hard as I can. But Grandad doesn't budge and his big hand squeezes even tighter around mine. In fact, his fingers are going white from the pressure and my hand starts to hurt. Grandad, stop it! Panic rises up in me as the pressure increases. It feels like the bones in my fingers might break. I pull harder than ever, but I'm not trying to get Grandad out. I'm trying to free my hand. Grandad, you're hurting me! Suddenly he lets go and I tumble backwards. Then, with amazing speed, his hand shoots inside the mattress. What? I cradle my squashed hand to my chest and stare at the bed. The lump has gone. Grandad? I jump up to my feet and circle the bed, patting the springs. Grandad, where are you? Silence. My heart thuds against my ribcage. I grab the headboard, ready to pull the bed open, but something stops me. It's a memory of Rose saying, never open the camp bed, Arthur, or everything in Raw will disappear. I let go of the headboard. Rose was talking rubbish, I tell myself. There is no Raw. There can't be any Raw. But I still can't bring myself to open the bed. The attic feels unbearably hot and I'm shaky with panic. I brush a tear off my cheek. Come on, Grandad. It's a good joke, but you can come out now. I know I'm talking to myself. I know he isn't there. In a daze, I check for every corner of the attic, even under the bed, but except for Prosecco, the attic is empty. I tell myself that Grandad has to be in the bed and I kneel down, take a deep breath and push my hand into the mattress. It's horrible. The hairs on the back of my neck prickle as I feel around, desperately hoping that my fingers will touch some bit of Grandad. But my hand just keeps going further and further into the mattress until finally I do touch something. But it's not Grandad's trainers or hair. It's a load of spiky, prickly stuff. I grab it and pull it out. When I uncurl my fingers, I have to squeeze my mouth shut to stop myself from being sick. I'm holding a pile of yellow straw and greasy black feathers. I chuck the whole lot on the floor, then reach forward and pick up the largest feather. It's inky black and the quill is sharp and warm, as if moments ago it was attached to a living thing with wings and stuffed full of straw. I jumped to my feet. I have to tell Rose. Chapter 11. As I walk across the garden, my heart still thudding in my chest and my hands trembling. I wonder how I'm going to do this. I can hear Mason's voice shrieking at Rose and bossing her around. If I just say what happened, they're going to collapse with laughter. Mason is going to think I'm sad or crazy or both. I pull myself onto the wheelie bin. It doesn't matter, I tell myself. What matters is that Grandad is missing. I've just got to tell Rose and then she will help me find him. I look over the wall. Mason is standing with her hands on her hips watching Rose. She senses my presence and her head swivels around like a velociraptor. She gives me a long, hard look, then turns back to Rose. It's your brother, she says. Rose lands on her bum, then bounces back to her feet. What do you want, Arthur? I cling to the top of the wall. I need to speak to you. Go on then. Not here. My eyes flick to Mason. On our own. Rose rolls her eyes. Just tell me, Arthur. Grandad's disappeared, I say in a rush. Grandad's what? He's disappeared. 1 second he was in the attic and the next he was gone. Please stop bouncing, Rose. Grandad's gone and you've got to help me find him. With a sigh, she comes to a stop. Mason stretches and says, he's probably lost in all the mess he keeps up there. All his mess is in the garden. There's nowhere to get lost in the attic now. Mason shrugs. Just saying, he's a messy person. He's not messy. He's a collector. He's messy, Arthur, snaps Rose, hands on her hips. Now hurry up and tell me what's happened. Grandad crawled through the camp bed. What? Why would he do that? It doesn't matter why he did it. What matters is that he crawled into the middle of the mattress, then disappeared. Rose doesn't look worried or shocked. In fact, she bursts out laughing. Arthur, he's playing a trick on you. Anger rises up inside me. Every second I stand here talking to Rose is another second that Grandad is missing. He's not. I was holding his hand. I felt him being pulled into the bed. I saw his hand shoot inside. Then he must still be there. He isn't. I checked. She rolls her eyes. Well, check again. I reached into my pocket and feel the feathers and straw that I picked up before I ran out of the attic. There's something else. I lean over the wall and open my hand. I found these inside the bed seconds after Grandad disappeared. Rose takes a step closer and alarm flashes across her face. Croaky, she whispers, but then she shakes her head. It's Grandad. He must have put them there. Really? Because I've never told Grandad about Croaky, have you? What are you two talking about? Interrupts Mason. It's nothing, says Rose. Just Arthur trying to get me to play with him. I'm so angry. I throw the feathers and straw in her face and Mason screams. Ugh, get that gross stuff off my trampoline. Rose gathers it up and chucks it back at me. Leave me alone, Arthur. Why can't you accept that I don't want to hang out with you? My foot slips out from under me. Do you honestly think I've made all this up so that you'll spend time with me? Yes, she says, making Mason laugh. Well, guess what, Rose? I don't even like him much these days, and I'm only talking to you right now because Grandad has vanished and I think Croaky has got him. Now both of them are laughing. Fine, I say, my cheeks burning. If you won't help me, I'll just have to find him on my own. I jump off the wheelie bin, slip on a rotten crab apple, scramble to my feet, then stride towards the back door. When you get to Raw, say hi to Mitch, Rose shouts. I turn around. Rosie's watching me with a sarcastic smile on her face. You've changed so much Mitch wouldn't even recognise you, I say. Then I walk into the house and let the door slam shut behind me. Chapter 12. Back in the attic, I stare at the camp bed. I've looked for Grandad everywhere. Even though I know he couldn't have got out of the bed, I've still checked every room in the house, the cellar, the shed, and even the garage, and opening the bed isn't an option. Some truly weird stuff has happened in the past hour, and I'm not about to do anything that might permanently erase my Grandad. He disappeared inside the mattress, so that's where I've got to go to. Trying to ignore the feathers and scraps of straw, I get down on my hands and knees, then push my head inside the bed. I want to pull it straight back out, but I keep my eyes squeezed shut and wriggle further in. Hear me roar! I blurt, pulling my legs up behind me. The bed wobbles, then becomes still. I'm crouched in the middle of the mattress, surrounded by darkness. It feels damp and lumpy, and it smells like the PE cupboard at school. The springs from the mattress dig into my skin, and I can't find enough air to breathe. All I want to do is get out, but I force myself to stay where I am while I wait for something to happen. When Rose and I played Raw, I'm sure this was when the game began. I don't know how it worked, but when we came out the other side, we'd be in Raw. I crouched there, the mattress pressing into my face until I can't stand it any longer. I crawl forward, my head bursts out into bright light, and I gulp fresh air. I see dusty floorboards and straw and feathers. Outside the sun is shining and I can hear Maze and Bailey laughing. I pull myself all the way out of the bed, feeling relieved and scared and stupid, all at the same time. Then I walk back round to the other side of the bed. Grandad is still missing and I'm going to keep crawling through this mattress until I find him. And for the next 10 minutes, that's exactly what I do. Soon my eyes are itchy, I'm sweaty and my hair is massive and crackling with static. I'm wriggling onto the attic floor for the 32nd time when I see Rose standing in the doorway sucking a blue ice pop and watching me. I've looked for him everywhere, I say. This is the only thing left to do. She does a long, hard suck on the lolly, then says, I'll admit, it's strange that he's vanished. I'm so relieved to hear her say this that I jump to my feet and rush over. I told you, Grandad's vanished inside the bed and somehow we've got to get there, go to Raw and get him back. She sighs. Arthur, we never actually went to Raw. You know that, right? The whole time we were playing up here in the attic, pretending. But when we played Raw, it didn't feel like we were in the attic. It felt real. All the time I've been talking to Rose. Rose has been sucking hard on her ice pop, draining all the blue out of it. I suppose it felt different to other games, she admits. But do you remember when I said I could fly? I got you all to come and watch and it turned out it was just me jumping down the stairs, flapping my arms, she shrugs. Kids have got big imaginations. That's exactly what I thought before I felt Grandad being pulled into the bed. I show her the marks on my hand where Grandad's nails dug in. And there's another thing. Just before he disappeared, Grandad basically said he believed that Raw was real. Rose laughs. Arthur, this whole thing is a massive practical joke. I bet Grandad's had this plan for ages. Grandad would never scare me like this. She raises one eyebrow. Wouldn't he? No, he wouldn't. Rose shrugs like she couldn't care less what I think. Suit yourself. I'm going to town. Mason says there's 3 for 2 on at Claire's. Before I went, I thought I should check that you hadn't vanished too. And that's when I realise it's hopeless. If Rose is more bothered about hairbands and earrings than she's about Grandad, I don't want her to come with me. Fine. I walk back to the camp bed, crouch down and roll up my sleeves. Hear me roar, I mutter as I stick my head back into the mattress. Ha! Says Rose. I pull my head out and turn to look at her. Eyes narrowed. I'm in no mood to hear Rose's sarcastic ha-has. What? Nothing. Only I never said hear me roar, because even when I was 5 I thought it was stupid. When I got into the middle of the mattress, I just shut my eyes and imagined roar. Then when I came out the other side, I was there. She takes a last long suck on her ice pop, then turns to the door. See you later, loser.